in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Fauci, you couldn't get away from him. It was just all Fauci all the time. And, at first it seemed, okay, seems like he looks like a doctor, sounds like a doctor. Sounded actually too much like a doctor, like a mad scientist who did not want to elucidate, who did not want to clarify, who wanted to confuse, right? The efficacy of the data indicates that at this point within the community of mass migration, you would not want to induce a variant of the stage with the mRNA. However, with the DRNA, what the hell? And then people came away with, man, he sounds really smart, rather than here's what I have to do. Rather than, I remember I asked him a point blank question and I said, so we don't have to worry about this one, right? And he went into a tour of the world. And then finally, after about 2 minutes of data and science and this, he says, but right now, this is not something that the American people should be worried about. Well, I'm looking at his emails, and he was, I guess, was he worried? Well, he was consumed. He was consumed by this. Look, if I knew that we were on the eve of 1 million people dying, that would have, that would have prompted attention. That would have prompted worry. What else? I guess it comes through an amazing day at the White House, an amazing day, and reams of information about Barbara Streisand called him at home. Barbara Streisand. And then he explains to Barbara Streisand that, oh, I love your music, Barbara. In fact, I was just having my Alexa play your music. And Barbara doesn't know what Alexa is. And then he has this big back and forth with, and he's so proud that he's talking to Barbara Streisand on the phone. And then he butt dials her later on and oh, I'm sorry, Barbara. I didn't mean to call you. I accidentally stepped on my phone, and I believe it's called a butt dial in the culture. But the culture is crazy and demented, and anybody who disagrees with me is a conspiracy theorist, idiot, and jerk like Ron DeSantis. The things he said about elected people. I remember I saw this movie once, Flight of the Intruder. And this admiral gets up and he's upset because a couple of lieutenants just went out on their own and bombed targets in North Vietnam because they were tired of hitting BS targets every day and of their guys getting shot down. So they flew all the way to Hanoi and blew up like the surface-to-air missile factory. And it was great. It was great because, now they have fewer missiles to shoot American warplanes down with. But in the military, you don't get to make your own orders, And this admiral gets up to him. And you find yourself rooting for the lieutenants, but you're also kind of rooting for this admiral. And you also these guys did a great thing because they were trying to save their buddies. But the admiral also is doing a great thing, too. He says, damn it, this is our country you're messing with. The people who run this country, they haven't always been right. They haven't always been correct. They haven't even always been smart. But they were elected. And this worship of those who haven't been elected and the worship of Fauci, which was insane. Can we say that? It was insane. Just never again should that happen. I mean, how did that happen? It's like a cult of personality. You ever hear the cult of personality? How did anybody objectively assess that Fauci was a good guy? How would they know that? How would they know that for real? He's cute. He looked cuddly. He looked interesting. No. And now you can see he looks guilty. He looks guilty as hell. Do me a favor, Carlos. I want you to take this one. A lot of lawmakers are stepping up. People I haven't noticed before. There's a Republican named Bernie Moreno. And he used to sell cars in Ohio. He did it very, very, very well. He's a very wealthy man. But he gave that up to become a United States senator. And he has a few things to say to Fauci. Remember, Fauci is not answering any questions. The Fifth Amendment, which I don't care what it is. It makes you look guilty. if you're invoking the Fifth Amendment. It does, depending upon what the form is, and this looks pretty bad. Especially he already has a pardon. Bernie Moreno, Republican of Ohio, and endorsed by President Trump. I believe this is his first year in the U.S. Senate. No, could that be? No, he got there in 2024. Are we ready, Carlos? Hit it, please. Yes, sir?
It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the f*** do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace.
How about that? Oh, he's a rich man, though. I didn't know he was. You know how much he's worth? $12 million. $12 million working for the federal government. Joe Biden did that, right? I guess these guys do that. He actually has the highest salary in the federal government. And he makes more than the president of the United States. He makes somewhere between $475,000 and $600,000 in salary. He gets residuals and royalties as well from various drugs he's recommended, that kind of thing. He received grants from not only the federal government, awards. There are cash awards in the federal government, and he used federal workers to apply for these grants. It's just wow. And I tell you, he looks shaken to me. He looks like a deeply shaken and disturbed man. He looks like he got caught, and he knows it. I also see that he's been crying. Everybody's cried. You can kind of tell when somebody's been crying. And that's got to be tough, but he did some. Hey, look, he can be forgiven. He can be forgiven. Absolutely. I don't like Dr. Fauci. I don't like him at all, but I love him at the same time. Why would I love a man who did all these horrible things? Well, as we all know, God has a plan, right? And he can make anything happen. And he created Fauci just like he created you, and he created me, and he's with Fauci every step of the way. And Fauci turned away from him. That's what I believe. But he can turn back to him. And even when all is lost and ruined, everything can be regained. Let's see here. At one point, they play a great big video of Fauci over the years lying like crazy. All right. They have he's telling on himself. Carlos, do you have the yeah, let's go ahead. This is just Fauci sitting there in September of 2022. And he's saying things that are flat out not true about the scientific community. We have the emails. We have everything now. We know he's not telling the truth. And to see how content he is when he's not telling the truth. If you don't mind, hit that one, Carlos.
If you look at what scientists from all over the world, and the conspiracy is that I sort of have these scientists on a string and I'm telling them what to do. Did you ever try and figure out what a German or a Swedish scientist would tell me if I told them what to do? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's for public consumption what they would tell me to go. They don't listen. They are of their own independent mind. And the vast majority of those people feel that you want to keep an open mind, that it should have been anything that happened. But the evidence that they have been working on for years strongly favors a natural occurrence. Does that mean it couldn't be a lab leak? Absolutely. I have a totally open mind to that. But an open mind doesn't mean there's equal probabilities of something happening, because you've got to look at what is the evidence and what are the data for one thing versus another. the scientists who wrote those papers in Science and Cell, they have pretty definitive data that these animals, which were outlawed and not allowed to be in a market where people can be in contact with them, were actually brought there because they bring in a lot of money, people buy them for ceremonial dinners, and yet they deny that. That's the thing that you really want them to come clean on.
No. Okay, so you can work the data to say whatever you want and reflect it and spin it. He's trying to say in his own very unclear, very kind of a lot of verbiage there. He's trying, because he wants to confuse every step of the way and cover his tracks. But he's trying to say that scientists who came out and said that the wet market, the Chinese delicatessen, wasn't the source, they don't have the data to back that up. But Fauci himself, in the earliest part of this thing, it looks like an email from January of 2020, says in writing that the source was not the wet market. It was an amplifier, meaning it was a super spreader, right? Hey, there are a lot of super spreaders. There were a lot of amplifiers. Remember Amy Coney Barrett when she was nominated to the Supreme Court and they had a party at the White House? That was an amplifier where it helped the disease spread. But it wasn't the origin. And the guy is lying right there. He is totally lying. I have it right here, his own words. He knew it. And he knew this also was a major point of contention. Now, why would he lie about that? Because he wanted people to not look at the Wuhan lab. Because the Wuhan lab had received funding from this National Health Center thing that Anthony Fauci cut checks to. All right. NIH funded a nonprofit that sent money to the Wuhan. And he did it to circumvent a prohibition against gain of function research that had been imposed by the Obama administration. And it's a wonderful thing to have access to the truth. Bad for him. Bad for him. All right. I want to give you a little taste of Rand Paul as he starts pulling out the receipts. Go ahead, Carlos, please.
We had hoped to hear testimony from Anthony Fauci today. We haven't, but I think it's important that we do hear from him. So we will have a video we'll play in a moment. For years, Anthony Fauci has been the public face of saying this in all likelihood came from nature. He kept saying, it's the marketplace, it's the marketplace, it's the marketplace. He's been saying that on television up until recently. But what we find is that what he was saying in public is different than what he was saying in private. In January, in private, he wrote that looks like the wet market was a super spreader event. It didn't originate there. We know that some of the earliest deaths and sickness came from somewhere else. But then for years and years, we got dishonesty. So let's play the video so we can see a little juxtaposition of the problem we're dealing with.
Ah, damn it. It sounds like he's at the bottom of a fish tank. When I was watching this on cable, I assumed that somebody... you can't hear it very well. You can't hear it very well. I'm going to find a better example of it. But it's more examples of him trying to take attention away. I have an open mind, but the data is wrong. What? Okay, all right. Let's see if we can find another version of that. But it's hot stuff, and there's more hot stuff to come. And once again, Senator Moody, what's her name? Ashley Moody down there in Florida. Very, very impressive. Reminding everybody, that you work for us, the people. And they have contempt. They have contempt for us. And they openly despise us. Fascinating. It's all about us, though. It's all about us. The men and women of the National Institute of Health, right? The men and women, these bureaucrats, the way they talk about themselves and the way some elected people talk about them. Oh, forgive me, I'm just a crummy politician, but you guys, you're the experts. In America, the people are actually the experts. The people always know best. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All righty, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. President Trump wants to close all travel from China, but Bob and I think this is a bad idea, and we'll tell him so tomorrow in the meeting. This was like the best thing that happened in the pandemic, and President Trump was right. He said we got to shut down the travel from China. They got a crazy new disease over there. We don't want people. What we recommend, Mr. President, is that 17 airports specially designed to screen and evaluate for foreign sickness be designated as the incoming locations for comorbidity patients. Shut the hell up with your mumbo jumbo. I don't want anybody coming in here from China. Well, in my experience, that could possibly alienate certain communities who would question whether the xenophobia. Well, wait, what? You're a doctor. What do you care about xenophobia? Hey, a few months into the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, right? Protests all over the place. People not social distancing. Masks going away. What about that one? Well, when you look at the efficacy of a pantagen within the social context, a social justice movement could be seen as an ameliorative effect on the physical as well as the psychosomatic aspect of the pandemic. What? He said stuff like this. He said he endorsed people going outside during the pandemic. He endorsed, you couldn't go to the beach in May, but once George Floyd got killed, you could go into the street in June and burn down a police station. How is my Dr. Fauci? I used to be better because we listened to him more often, right? You know, we were hanging on his every word. Oh, you know who he's jealous of in his little diary here? Guess who? Cuomo. When Cuomo started getting a lot of good press. Wow, those guys. Wow, oh boy. Yeah, he was jealous of him. And jealous of a lot of people. Jealous of my friend Dr. Atlas. Got him fired.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Alrighty then. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. All this excitement about Fauci. I've forgotten to mention the Joe Biden audio tapes where he's committing federal crimes on audio. It's one thing to commit a crime. But when you're saying it directly into a tape recorder, I shouldn't be doing this, but this is classified information, and I had it in my... Wait, how does he talk? I shouldn't be doing this, but this is classified information. I got it out of the basement. I can't do Joe Biden. And so I shouldn't be showing it to you, but here it is anyway. Here it is. Here it is. He showed it to his ghostwriter, some dude. Didn't have a security clearance. You know, if you believe that this was so incredibly important with Donald Trump, right? The Mar-a-Lago raid, all those guys who said that was a real serious crime. It wasn't a crime at all. Let's just go through a couple of those moments. I think I got some around here. Listen to this one. Cut 5, if you don't mind. Cut 5.
Can I ask you two things about that lunch? One is that when he said, I'm very protective of your legacy and your image.
He was worried that I would get into, I think it was all about him trying to talk me not running.
Yeah.
And he was worried that if I got started with this draft Biden thing, I let it get out of hand, couldn't go anywhere. It would tarnish my image, tarnish my legacy. And so he wanted to make it clear that he was, quote, very protective of my legacy, very protective of my image.
Yeah, no. He knew you were corrupt, and he knew it would all come out. Let's see here. This is where he tells his ghostwriter that he didn't turn over a lot of his presidential documents, which you're supposed to do. And listen to how the ghostwriter characterizes that. Cut 6, if you don't mind, please.
This is probably something that goes to the presidential papers.
I don't think so. It was in between. I didn't want to turn them in.
Right. So that's the gray area.
Gray area. I didn't want to turn them in. You're supposed to, especially as the vice president. None of that crap is yours. And then there's legal precedent for the president taking whatever the hell he wants. It's within the president's discretion. There's a huge difference between Article 2, right? That spells out the president's power. Vice president gets to do about two things: break ties in the Senate, and I think that's it. Maybe it's just one. Take over if the president dies. There's another one here, if you don't mind. Well, look, once he got nailed for this, he blamed his staff, which is a double whammy kind of lie. All right, here's Joe Biden blaming his staff for putting all the secret documents in his basement. The staff went into your basement? Really? Okay, all righty. Cut 7, please.
Do you take responsibility for at least being careless with classified material?
I take responsibility for not having seen exactly what my staff was doing. It goes in and points out things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were moved not by me, but my staff. My staff.
My staff. Okay, not by you, but by your staff. Okay. And here's his own lawyer, a guy named Bob Bauer, saying the same thing. By his staff. Cut 8.
He was saying staff was clearly involved, responsible for the packing. We don't see presidents and vice presidents during transitions packing boxes. But he recognizes now when he looks back on it, maybe more involvement on his part was necessary because it didn't go the way he thought it should have gone.
Oh, Joe Biden, it didn't just go the way he thought it should have gone. And he probably should have just made sure that the people were, so Joe Biden should have done that. Yeah. The only problem is we don't know that vice presidents and presidents don't pack their own belongings because Joe Biden did. Joe Biden, it's right in the Her report, page 153. Joe Biden was seen packing boxes himself and loading them himself onto the moving van. It's incredible. One box at a time, right onto the truck. And not only that, they have the receipt from the moving company, Georgetown Movers. And on the receipt, it says family touch only. Like certain rooms, only the family. Joe Biden was there the entire day. He wanted to make sure all that stuff, right? He had to keep his eyes on it. He loaded the truck himself. Why would he do that? He didn't want them seeing all the classified stuff that he was illegally taking home. And then for him to pretend he was outraged about what President Trump, the Mar-a-Lago stuff. You know what you should be outraged by? The FBI trying to set him up. The FBI and the deep state setting up our president. By the way, he was very good yesterday at Lindsey Graham's funeral. I was right, by the way. I don't know if you saw, I made a video about it. He has a second funeral today in South Carolina. He died 18 days ago. 18 days ago. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it was about 6 weeks. Let's see here. Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Police officer who died of natural causes the day after January 6th. It was almost a full month between his death and the funeral. Now, it wasn't always like this. It's like this when you want to make a political point or drag something out if you want to say, I don't know, delay the replacement of a Supreme Court justice. Well, President Trump, he can't nominate anybody before she's in the ground. How bad would that be? Right? No. We don't play that game anymore. Shut up. Okay. Pope John Paul II died on April 2nd. He was buried 4 days later. Okay, John F. Kennedy died on the Friday. He was buried on a Monday. Now, Senator Graham, I don't think anyone's making a point about it. There's no political advantage in or is there? Is this about the... No, I don't think so, actually. I just think that this is possibly the new normal for these politicians, right? The new aristocracy, you guys. I mean, come on. You got to vote. You were one vote of 100 other votes. And you got to be on committees, and you got to say things. I mean, there's value. I love our system. I love our democracy, constitutional republic, I should say. I love the way it's set up, but don't let it go to your head. You see what happens when it goes to your head. You become like Fauci. You become like Fauci. Oh, here's another one. Here's Fauci being challenged back when he was Mr. Vaccine. He would door to door trying to give people vaccines. You know, he complains, oh, Republicans don't want to, well, let's do both of them. Here's a black guy. Happens to be black, and you can see that makes Fauci a little bit uncomfortable. You know, it's interesting to see certain elites interact with people who may not be totally elite. This guy looks like a working man, right? And he's asking the best questions that you can ask about that crazy vaccine. Cut 4, please. No. Make it cut 3, please. Cut 3.
The people in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot on a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough.
And he goes back and forth, and the guy wins a debate with Dr. Fauci, just some guy in his house on his porch. And this is what Fauci thinks of people who disagree with him. Cut 2, please. Cut 2. Again, he's going door to door trying to give people the vaccine. It's a photo op, but it's, it's also what was happening at the time. Cut 2.
What are we going to do about those other states?
Oh, my God. They're going to keep the outbreak smoldering in the country. It's so crazy. I mean, they're not doing it because they say they don't want to do it. They're Republicans. They don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
And we got to break that, unpack that.
We got to break that. People have got to do what they're told to do. What kind of country is that? It's an authoritarian country. It's a country that we don't have that country. We don't want that. The more I look back at this stuff, the more I appreciate people like DeSantis. Look, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't as critical a thinker back then. I trusted the government more then than I do now. Right. And I did not have complete and total trust in the government. 9/11, weapons of mass destruction. So I was skeptical. But, it sounds reasonable. He seems like a reasonable guy. Oh, Fauci. Fauci's been around for a long time. He even came on my show. He writes about it in his diary. Dr. Fauci on the Greg Kelly show. Where is that? Cut 4, if you don't mind. Cut 4.
Bottom line, we don't have to worry about this one, right?
This is not a major threat for the people in the United States, and this is not something that the citizens of the United States right now should be worried about.
You see how he gets that right now, right? He's playing a game, bureaucratic game, always covering your tracks. He wrote about it in his diary that night that he was on the Greg Kelly show. I didn't think twice about it, but I'm glad I made your day there, pal. Glad you had fun. Not really. You were having too much fun. That's the problem. I'm trying to think back throughout history. Where are people when a city or a country was suffering and the person involved seemed to be having a lot of fun or even thriving on it? I know this has happened before, and I can actually remember one instance. It was Iraq post-invasion. So it's like the summer of 2003. Mission accomplished, right? We won the war, quote unquote, but we hadn't. There were no weapons of mass destruction. A guy named Paul Bremer was the head of the Coalition Provisional Authority, the CPA, and totally ignorant man. I mean, so ignorant. He had one big diplomatic job his entire life. He was ambassador to the Netherlands. He didn't know anything about Iraq. He didn't know anything about military. And he disbanded the Ba'ath Party, the Republican Guard. He got rid of all those people. Well, what are you going to do with all these people who are 30-year-old young men with weapons? Because they actually kept their weapons. You got to welcome them into the new way of doing things, the new government. You have to. And he didn't. He created the insurgency in one fell swoop. Anyway, I saw him a lot on TV, and I actually also saw him in person. His name was Jerry Bremer. Some guy named Jerry was running Iraq. And he was having the time of his life. He had never been so important. He was wearing cargo boots with a blazer and a necktie, and he had this signature look. And I could tell he was enjoying himself. And the country was in chaos. Military wasn't enjoying itself. I wasn't particularly enjoying myself, but I'm glad you're enjoying all the attention. Anybody think of any other example? It would be like a coach who's having a blast as his team is losing. So it's not that easy to find. But you found it in Fauci. You found it in Paul Bremer. Somebody said Rudy Giuliani. No, that does not count. Here's the beautiful thing about Rudy. I mean, that was a leader. You know, he felt pain. He was just so in touch with the way people felt. You know, he was so in touch. And no, that was true leadership. And he was suffering like a lot of people, you know. And fortunately, though, he was able to muster the energy and do a great job. Let me know if you know anybody like that. I'm trying to think. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Don't always say this, but today I saw some magnificent men and women, our elected leaders in the United States Senate, Moody, Hawley, Johnson, Scott, and more. Rand Paul, well done. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Okay, we are back. 800-848-9222. John is standing, but we got 3 Johns on the phone. John, you know, John, is your name really John, line 1?
No, I'm Thomas out in Wisconsin. I want to
What the hell did they say, John?
First-time caller.
There's so many
First-time
Johns
caller.
on the line. Why?
I want to thank you for the way, and congratulate you on first-time caller. I hope Dr. Fauci winds up in jail. He should not be not telling the truth. The way you're handling this whole situation, you should be congratulated. And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm very proud of this president. I became a citizen, by the way, in 1968 from Ireland. Served in the Navy. This president stopped World War III. He said it. And the other thing, I'm very glad Wisconsin revoked the brewery license of that company that wanted to give out free beer upon his death. That is a terrible thing for them to do. Down in Milwaukee, I believe it was, Wisconsin just recently. I read it in today's Post.
I missed that one. Wait, there was a company in Wisconsin that wanted to give out free beer the day that who died?
And President Trump, the day he died.
Nasty.
And the state of Wisconsin revoked their brewery, their liquor license, saying you can't come out and say that. I mean, maybe you can get away with that in Russia. But anyway, I want to thank you, and Dr. Fauci should be ashamed of himself for not telling the truth.
Well, thank you, John. And if you look at him, I think he is ashamed. I think this kind of got through to him. I do. But we'll see. Thank you, sir, very much. Okay, let's go to John on line 5. Maybe our guys are taking a short. John, hello. Are you John?
This isn't actual John. I'm a Johnified John, bonafide John.
All right. Yeah, some people, when they get busted by the cops when they're, in a place they shouldn't be, they'll say, what's your name? John Smith. What is it, John?
I just a couple of remarks. First of all, with Mamdani, I think it's funny that he's pressing people on the legalities of their claims to living in those homes, when meanwhile Letitia James just skated scot-free from the same exact charges. Maybe he should take a look at his own people first.
I wonder if she got a letter about this. Yeah. She's not. Yeah. She swore in. She loves Mamdani. Loves the guy. Very strange woman, that Letitia. What's the other thing you wanted to say, real quick?
Fauci. He's real quiet now. Too bad he didn't learn how to shut up a few years ago, huh?
Yeah, I know. All those movies, documentaries. He had a documentary crew inside that limo. He gets a limo. Oh, don't forget all the security that he needed because MAGA was so upset. That's what they do. They talk about us in such a way that we are threats to democracy, January 6th, all that crap, so they can enhance their prestige and status. Say, we are threatened by MAGA, and we need security. MAGA's not about violence. All right, they don't understand. Thank you, sir. We have another John on line 4. Yes, John.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the radio.
I'm not John. This is Joe from Mount Sinai.
Gosh damn it! All right, now who the hell in the back put down all these Johns? I had one John who was a Thomas. I had one John who was a Joe. And I had one John who's actually John. Who the hell's... who is it? Where is he now? Is it Phil? Who's back there? Where did he go? You playing a game with me with the telephone operator? I know those telephone operators, they get bored sometimes. They did in the old days, too. They would put two people, they would cross the lines, and two people who didn't call each other are suddenly calling each other. Is that what our switchboard guy is doing? You're playing a game with me. All right, I'm sorry about that. Yes, Joe, what is it? What is it?
I know these people, Greg.
What is it? Joe, what is it?
It was good to see Fauci in that position. I hope this is a start of something where all these people that did wrong have to pay for what they did. And as far as Bill Stevenson, why does he have a public defender?
He's not rich. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have much money.
How about a GoFundMe page? Somebody set up a GoFundMe. I don't know how to do it, or else I would do it.
No, nobody knows how to do anything. Look, here's the thing about that. How do I say this? Somebody close to me. Look, we're looking into everything. The thing about the GoFundMe, and at one point I was all, fired up. Okay, we're going to raise money and get him out of jail. Well, the moment you have an accused murderer, right? It's accused murder, right? It ain't, it's not January 6th offense. It's very hard to raise money for that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, people are hesitant. There are people I know personally who are hesitant to get involved because of the murder allegation. They don't know what I know. They don't know what we know. So there's that. There's somebody else, he's 79 years. I want him out of that jail. But get this, the type of bail he's under right now, you can't just raise 10%. You can't just raise 10%. 10% of $2 million is $200,000. The type of bail they have him under, you got to get to $2 million. You got to get the whole gosh damn kit and caboodle. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. All right, there's the music. I got to get the hell out of here. Thanks for calling. You can call us back if you want. I mean, not you guys, but other guys. 800-8489-222. 800-8489-222. We got more Fauci. We have a lot more Biden. And some great stuff from God.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?